Welcome. So, as you know, we launched season 5 of Give It a Nudge just a few days ago. Had a lot of positive comments. I've also done a couple of sitting down in casual areas, doing some talking to camera stuff to you guys in the past, which, sometimes gets good response, sometimes gets bad response. But what it did get is it gets response. So we figured we'd probably do a little bit more straight to camera work, and we can call it straight to camera with Steve if you like. I don't mind. But what we thought was we'll find a location or maybe 2 locations that we really love. And this is the latest one, which I want to introduce you to. So this is actually inside a podcast studio in one of the offices that we work with a lot of startups in. It's super cool. It's got everything you'd ever dream of. It's got great lighting. It's got the soundproofing. It's got it all. So you're going to see me in here a lot. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics. But I think if you guys have got things you want to hear my opinions, and I always have opinions, please put them in the comments or message us or let us know. Today we're going to talk about quiet hiring, quiet firing, and all those other crazy things that are going on in this world of people complaining about Generation Z and the younger generation. So I hope you enjoy that one. But I wanted to introduce us to this new space. I think you're going to really enjoy it here. But please send us some questions, send us some comments, talk to me about topics you want my opinions on, and I am more than happy to come back to you. Today I am coming to talk to you about something that I found quite entertaining. 3 different terms that I keep hearing, and I kind of want to touch on what they are and what I think about them. So there is quiet quitting, quiet firing, and quiet hiring. Why everyone's doing everything quiet these days, I've got no idea. But let's touch on what they are first. I'm going to start with quiet quitting because this one to me seems the most ridiculous. So there's been this trend, particularly in the US, driven a lot by social media about quiet quitting. What is quiet quitting? So quiet quitting is essentially someone who is doing the minimum to keep their job without actually leaving their job. Now, they're saying this is a new phenomenon. It's obviously not a new phenomenon. It's been around forever. People have always done that. There's always been an element of life that has done that. I think the trend that's been pushing through now is that there's a lot of people doing it. They estimate 50% of people in the US under 35, and they are targeting that demographic particularly, are doing this. So I just sort of wanted to touch on it and examine why. Look, I think there's a number of reasons. I think at the end of the day, we're in a world that has just gone through a pandemic. People have come out the other end. They're still a little bit unsure. I think there's a lot of young people who feel there is a lack of opportunity around workplaces, but also around housing and a number of other things. And they're feeling a little disillusioned. On top of that, they're being bombarded by social media and other media outlets about making sure they have a work-life balance, making sure they don't burn out. Even myself talking to you about how you shouldn't burn out. So there's a lot of mixed messages coming in, right? You've got people going, you don't have to dedicate your life to work. You should have work-life balance. You need to sleep enough. You need to make sure you're exercising. You need to make sure you're eating right. How are you supposed to do all that and not do quiet quitting, which is essentially doing the job you're paid to do, which is all quiet quitting is. The opposite of quiet quitting is staying late, doing extra work, all those other things that we've just told you not to do. And yet now you're doing what we've told you to do and doing all those other things and looking after yourself so you can perform during those hours and ideally, achieve as much as you should do. We're having a go at you because you're quiet quitting. It's madness. I think the whole thing's madness. I think that everyone has a choice as to how much they want to give to their work or not. Some people are in careers they love a lot, and I mean a lot of people are in careers they don't love. So if someone's in there and they're doing the job that they're supposed to be doing during the hours they're supposed to be doing it and they're paid what they're supposed to be paid for it, I really don't see the issue. So let's stop calling it quiet quitting. They're not quitting. They're just doing their job and trying to live their life as balanced as we've been telling them to. Okay, so that brings us on to the next one, quiet hiring. What is quiet hiring? It's not what you think. I think a lot of people think quiet hiring is hiring people without telling anyone and bang, you have a new employee. It's not that at all. Quiet hiring is actually something that is almost the opposite of quiet quitting. And we'll come back to quiet firing in a minute. But quiet hiring, I'll explain to you what it is. So the purpose of quiet hiring is, this has been going on for years, just people have decided to coin a phrase. Quiet hiring is getting more out of your employees without actually hiring anymore. So you could call that looking at driving efficiencies. You could call that we haven't got enough money to hire someone, but for us to grow, we have to go to the next phase. Now, as you know, we work a lot in the startup space, so quiet hiring is very common, but we're talking about it here in a more general sense. Is quiet hiring a good thing? Is quiet hiring a bad thing? Is it fair on the employees? Is it the employers trying to be sneaky? Look, I don't think it's any of those things. I think quiet hiring has a lot of benefits and a lot of drawbacks. It has benefits for the employer and it has benefits for the employee. Quiet hiring can include training current employees in new tasks so that they can potentially do 2 jobs rather than 1. Now, who's the benefit here? Well, I guess both are, right? I mean, if you're learning a new skill, then hopefully if you're that kind of individual and you want to, this is a benefit to you. If you're the employer and you're getting someone to learn a new skill and they can do multiple jobs, again, it's beneficial for them. On the darker side of that, does that mean that you're working longer hours? Does that mean you're not doing the job to the same quality? I think like everything in life, there are pluses and minuses for everything. So quiet hiring, look, is it a bad thing? It's been going on forever. I think as long as it's maybe made clear and not done in a sneaky way, which it really isn't as far as I can see. I don't know how you can retrain someone in a job without them knowing. I think quiet hiring is a great thing. I think companies need to become more efficient. I think software and technology is giving us the chance and the ability to do more things better and do more things more efficiently as individuals. So why not? Let's encourage quiet hiring. There's no issue with quiet hiring as far as I'm concerned, just like there's no issue with quiet quitting. And that brings us on to the last one. So, quiet firing. Now this one I do have an issue with. I think the others have been around forever, so has quiet firing. But to me, quiet firing it's poor leadership, it's weak management, it's all sorts of bad things. So, who knows what quiet firing is? Let me again explain it to you. Quiet firing is essentially a manager, an employee, an HR department, senior management, whatever it might be. They've made a decision that this particular employee or this group of employees are not someone that they want in the business. However, they've got 2 options. They can front them up, put them on performance management and manage them out of the business, or try and encourage and work with them and train them up and get them up to the speed that they want to. Those are the 2 normal choices. Quiet firing is the more underhand and weak management side. And unfortunately, there's a lot of this, particularly in middle management and particularly in the corporates, I see. Although actually you do get quite a lot of it in the startup world as well, usually due to managers or founders just not having the skill sets to actually manage this scenario. So quiet firing can be a number of things. It can be basically limiting opportunities for people. It can be not getting them in on the right projects. It can be almost alienating them in the office. It's essentially a way of making someone feel useless, unwanted, not relevant, but without actually telling them. It's really a form of manipulation, and I think it's absolutely shocking that it's still going on. It's absolutely shocking that people think it's acceptable and that the right way to get rid of someone, to get rid of their problem, is partly just to make it so uncomfortable for that person that they don't want to be there. It's quiet firing. Absolutely dreadful, the worst of all 3. So, here we have it, 3 different things. Quiet firing, I think we all agree, shocking. Quiet hiring, I think there's benefits and I think there's also drawbacks. I think as long as everybody understands what's going on in that scenario, I think there's a lot of benefits. And then essentially there's just the normal quiet quitting, and it's not really quitting. It's someone who's trying to work out how to balance their life and do their job. Sure, if you want to have people that want to go the extra mile, that's fine. You should look at that as a benefit, but that's not everybody in the world. So why do we have to call them quiet quitters? They're doing their job, they're getting paid for it. I think it's perfectly fine. Those are the 3 things. Happy to hear your comments on what you think, but I think the last 2 are great. I think the first one is dreadful. Thanks for joining me today on that one. I hope you enjoyed our first epic episode here in this new studio. Again, I know I said it at the beginning, but let's hear it. Please send me things you want to hear about. It doesn't have to be human resources related. It doesn't have to be recruitment related. You know, we've got Balance the Grind. We're talking about all sorts of different aspects of how you live your life there. We've got all the startup stuff we do. We've got all the different offices and different companies and cultures and everything. So look, any topic you want to hear my opinions on, please put it in the comments or email us directly, nudge@thenudgegroup.com. Can't wait to hear them.